Your paycheck is not a reward. It's anesthesia. A precisely calculated dose of emotional sedation to keep you functional, but never truly awake. Every month it numbs your rebellion, soothes your existential dread, and ensures your continued obedience. What you call security is actually sedation. Actually, the paycheck doesn't empower you. It contains you. It's not payment for value. It's compensation for silence. You're not working for money. You're working to suppress fear. Fear of collapse, of losing control, of not performing well enough to be seen as functional. Most people don't fear being broke. They fear being emotionally irrelevant. If you stop running, the floor disappears. That's the unspoken contract of modern slavery. The fixed salary has become the last institutional religion, and like every religion, it demands sacrifice, blind faith, and devotion. You're taught to thank the system for your air-conditioned cage, the holiday bonus that feels like emotional hush money, and the manager who gives you praise like a parent patting a dog. Meanwhile, those who own time, the ones who don't sell hours but buy destinies, watch you hustle, laugh, and multiply. Entrepreneurship becomes a placebo for rebellion. Now you're the one whipping yourself in the name of freedom. You're here because something broke inside you. Maybe it was a layoff, a mental breakdown, a sudden moment of clarity during a Zoom call that felt more like a corporate sermon. Maybe you realized that after years of working, you still own nothing that truly belongs to you. We're witnessing a collective collapse of symbolic sanity. Work has become identity, paychecks, emotional leash. Burnout isn't a system failure, it's the expected outcome. An exhausted worker becomes an obedient consumer. Too tired to question, too numb to change. I know because I lived it. I wore that collar. I smiled through evaluations, swallowed self-help mantras, and blamed myself for the exhaustion. It took breaking, financially, emotionally, psychologically, to see it. The system isn't broken. It was designed this way. And once you understand that, your salary stops looking like a prize and starts looking like a prison you've been thanking. A job is not employment. It's domestication. You exchange your life force, your best years, and your raw spirit for emotional predictability. The paycheck isn't meant to enrich you. It's designed to pacify you. It's just enough to survive, but never enough to escape. The more you earn, the more you commit. The more you commit, the less you question. The less you question, the deeper you're caged. The paycheck doesn't buy freedom, it leases obedience. Modern slavery doesn't use chains. It uses bills, apps, status, and busy calendars. You feel free because you can choose your phone brand, while your soul has already been auctioned off to the next auto deposit. The system ensures you never have enough time or energy to reorganize your consciousness. Your entire psychological structure is reprogrammed to keep chasing the next payment, the next KPI, the next dopamine drip. Even your free time is hijacked by engineered distractions meant to tranquilize your last remaining sparks of clarity. This machine doesn't want you to think. It wants you to repeat. The ritual of modern labor is a military-grade feedback loop. Wake up early, commute, pretend to care, produce metrics, consume relief. It's not what you deliver that matters. It's that you stay spinning, as a replaceable cog, as a disposable body. The paycheck validates this cycle. It's the symbolic stamp saying, you're doing great, even when your spirit is quietly dying. That's why losing a job isn't just economic collapse. It's ego death. Because the system taught you to confuse your wage with your worth. And that's the most perverse trick. It doesn't force you with guns. It seduces you with symbols. The contract becomes a badge of pride. The company, your family. The office chair, your sanctuary. Eventually, you begin to take pride in the pain, celebrate the exhaustion, and identify with your cage. What they call a career is often just emotional numbing in exchange for false security. Until one day, you look back and realize you traded your dreams for dependability. And no amount of dependability is worth a domesticated soul. You don't work for money. You work to feel worthy. From childhood, you were conditioned to earn love through effort. Rest became guilt. Fatigue became identity. The paycheck is your emotional validation. You deserve to exist. It's not the money you're addicted to. It's the illusion of control, the temporary relief from existential dread. The system doesn't need to chain you anymore. You became your own guard. You internalize the manager, the task list, the performance anxiety. You monitor yourself for compliance and punish yourself for dreaming. The fear isn't poverty, it's irrelevance. Freedom terrifies you because it demands symbolic maturity. You were trained to equate pain with purpose and control with meaning. When an opportunity to escape arises, a business idea, a relocation, a radical change, your first instinct isn't excitement, it's panic. Because deep inside, you still believe you don't deserve peace without performance. You stay in the cycle not out of necessity, but because the cage is familiar. Familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar possibility. Self-sabotage isn't failure, it's a survival reflex. When you try to break out, start a project, slow down, speak your truth, your subconscious resists. Procrastination, self-doubt, panic. You think you're lazy, but you're actually detoxing from a lifetime of symbolic slavery. Your identity was built on sacrifice, and anything outside that script triggers a psychological immune response. Who do you think you are to live freely? The paycheck doesn't just control your schedule, it defines your self-worth. And here's the trap. Each salary reinforces the idea that your value comes from utility, not from being. You adjust to external expectations, suppressing your truth to stay employable. The paycheck becomes emotional currency. You don't earn it, it earns you. You keep calling it freedom, but what you really mean is sedation. Until you break the emotional script, not just the financial one, you'll always sabotage your own escape. Before you learn to write your name, you learn to ask for permission. Before you grasp the value of time, you internalized the cost of disobedience. Childhood was never about exploration. It was about formatting. Every rule, reward, and punishment molded your emotional architecture to fit inside a system. School didn't teach freedom. It taught compliance. Bells, schedules, tests, early simulations of workplace slavery. You were groomed to obey, not to awaken. The myth of the hard-working hero was installed like a virus. You were taught to admire the father who worked through illness, the mother who stretched every dollar, the uncle who never took a day off. That's the emotional propaganda. Glorify exhaustion, shame sensitivity, reward silence. You weren't raised to express, you were raised to endure. So when adulthood arrived, you didn't seek purpose. You sought acceptance through suffering, and the paycheck became your badge of belonging. And that's when sabotage began, not in adulthood, in your earliest years. When play was replaced with competition, when creativity was labeled as distraction, when silence felt like danger. Your spirit was shrink-wrapped in routines, fear, and approval addiction. You were shaped for the market, not for life. You became an emotionally efficient machine until you broke. And when anxiety floods in, when burnout knocks you out, the system says the problem is you. Never the design, never the training, never the childhood stolen for performance. True freedom begins with deprogramming, not just changing jobs but changing symbols. You're not trapped because you earn too little. You're trapped because you fear wanting more than survival, more than routines, more than the personality they carved for you. The prison isn't made of walls, it's made of memory, and freedom won't come from financial hacks. It comes from facing the ghosts of who you were told to be. Only then can the paycheck lose its power and become just a tool. Until then, it owns you. Freedom demands symbolic death, and that's why so few escape. To break from paycheck identity, you must kill the character you've mastered, the one who smiles through pain, nods through disrespect, and confuses survival with worth. This character is rewarded socially and destroyed spiritually. Liberation begins when you stop performing for applause and start speaking from truth. But truth is chaos, and chaos has no pension plan. The rupture isn't economic, it's existential. It means shedding titles, losing validation, facing instability. It's the desert between who you are and who the system sculpted. Nobody prepared you for this. You were taught to chase income, not integrity, to value consumption, not consciousness. But in the rebellion lies resurrection. When you finally say no, not to a boss, but to your own domestication. When you stop asking for permission to breathe. Reconstruction starts with radical refusal. Refusing to measure time in invoices. Refusing to assign dignity to exhaustion. Refusing to exchange your essence for a salary. You don't need a career, you need a soul. And building one means wandering through rejection, loneliness, uncertainty. You'll be called lazy, delusional, irresponsible. Let them speak. That's how you know you're alive. Because on the other side of collapse is clarity, where work becomes expression, where money becomes leverage, not leash. One day you'll realize you no longer need the paycheck to feel real. You don't crave performance metrics. You don't fear the unknown. You stopped bowing to the god of productivity and met yourself. That's the true death of the obedient worker. No tombstone, just a mirror cracked wide open. And when you rebuild, it won't be from compliance, but from fire. There comes a moment when the cage stops feeling safe, when the badge becomes a brand, when the praise feels like poison. A brutal clarity hits, and everything you once called success reveals itself as containment. The paycheck becomes a trophy of betrayal, of your time, your voice, your soul. You stop being proud of the grind. You begin mourning the years lost to fear, mourning the self you sacrificed for acceptance. That mourning is your awakening. Security dissolves. Predictability turns to nausea. Every direct deposit feels like another piece of you vanishing. That's when the ritual begins. No fire, no drum. Just a quiet vow to never again bow to the system that trained you to smile while breaking. You start moving differently, speaking differently, thinking in a language that isn't made of compliance. The world doesn't change, but your frequency does. And that's enough to burn the script. Now the war is internal, not against corporations, but against the slave code still buried inside you, the one that cringes at rest. That equates value with hustle. That calls freedom risky and dreams irresponsible. You don't need another promotion. You need resurrection. And that can't be bought. It must be claimed. With rage, with grace, with unshakable refusal to perform the old version of you. This video isn't motivation. It's a ritual. If you made it here, something in you has already died. Let it stay buried. Don't resurrect the obedient version. Burn the leash. Tear the badge. Rewrite your worth from scratch. The system survives because you still thank the cage. Stop. Today. The war has already begun. What have you lost trying to deserve a paycheck? Send this video to someone still thanking their cage. Subscribe. The symbolic war has already started. You don't need chains when the mind has been trained.